So you can see I have my hand that I've already outlined in Sharpie, and I've started to do a little bit of a decorative border to add to it. And what I have done already is I've done my practice thumbnails, which I think the sheet that I gave you is a little bit bigger squares, but that's fine. You want to have at least 3 to 4 squares done. I prefer that you have 6 and that you try to combine them together a little bit. These were the idea starters that you had to go from. And you'll use a lot of these. You'll use your practice thumbnails. But what I really want for you to do is to try to go in with directly with marker rather than having to go with pencil and then outline it in Sharpie. I think it just works better if you just go have an idea and go ahead and apply it directly to the page in Sharpie. As you can see, I started adding a border with just a line and a dot, a line and a dot, line and a dot, and I went all the way around with that. And one of the things about Zentangles that's so cool, and now I'm going to thicken this line, is that you get a lot of the principles of design by creating them, which when you repeat an element over and over again, that's called repetition. And it adds to the rhythm of the piece, which is another principle of art, and it also is a pattern. And as you start to build thicker and thinner lines, you're adding variety. And when you start putting all of those principles of art together, that's when you start to get such a nice looking piece. Another nice thing about Zentangles is even if you make a mistake, it's okay because it's not going to really show up. You know, once you get all of those patterns in there, nobody's going to notice that that line's not perfectly straight or whatever. So that's another reason I think it's smart just to go ahead and get some ideas going. Practice in pencil if you need to, practice in marker, and then when you go to your final, go ahead and do it directly in marker, okay? Okay, so that's pretty cool. I think what I want to do is come in vertically with some other lines, and I think what I'm going to do is repeat this motif as I come in. So I'm just going to do, you know, line, dot, line, dot, line, dot. So again, creating repetition and creating rhythm and pattern, okay? Don't worry about if these are even or not. Doesn't have to be perfectly even, and actually if they're not perfectly even, it's kind of better because it adds more of that variety and movement that we're talking about. Okay. And then I think I'm going to create some thicker lines in between here, going this way. I'm only going to do one side right now so that this video doesn't last like an hour, but you'll get the idea based on what I do. I like to turn my paper. It helps me for some reason. And you try not to, you don't want, even though Sharpies are permanent markers, or whatever markers you're using are permanent markers, you don't want to try, you want to try to not rub your hand right over the top right after you've drawn the lines, because it will smear while it's still wet. Okay, that's good enough for now. And then see how sometimes I went over this line and it doesn't look that nice? So that's okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create another line here, and I'm going to kind of cover that mistake with like a thicker line, and no one will ever know. And it'll look cool when it's done. And when you start to add color, it's going to be even prettier. And I made it kind of a little bit thinner towards the ends and thicker around the outside. You can do like another thin line if you wanted around here. And then I think that looks pretty good. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go all the way around like that, creating the same. Actually, I may do a little bit different pattern over here, but I'm going to get a lot of the similar things going in here. And then I'll come back and I'll show you what it starts to look like when we add color. Okay?